Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to the Alchemist and the Oracle, a space where we engage in spiritualized conversations that deepen understanding, inspire transformation, and spark meaningful dialogue about life's most profound truths. I am Nicole of the Oracle, and as always, I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Warrioress Ardeshir Arin, the Alchemist. Welcome to the Alchemist and the Oracle podcast. I guess we need to start calling it a podcast because that is literally what it is. So today we're going to get into conversation about the topic around divine truths. Um, Also, Happy New Year. Welcome to a new calendar year for those of you um, who are watching in this new calendar year. All right, my dear. How do you want to go about this?
Let's go for it.
The floor is yours.
Oh, yes. Hello, my people's happy 2026 in the mix. So just want to say that something came up to touch bases with you as we begin this beautiful new divine 1 year. Hopefully you got to check in on our channelversary where I discussed it about 55 minutes in about the 1 year and what it means and how to go about it. So go check that out. And we're talking about divine truth. So what is it and what does it mean? Because when we're looking at this 1 year, we're looking at this next cycle and how the world is changing, how everything is going about. And some just said divine truth. So let's talk about it. So let's do that and set up some things to have you figure out what that might be for you. So there's several definitions that will relate. And one of them that I've always talked about is that true essence of you. So it's like divine truth is this unchanging essence within us, the core of who we are before the world told us who we are to be. And that resonates because when you look at it, and even one of the pieces that I written had a lot to do with unindoctrinating, undomesticating, standing in and being our true self without the mask, without the layers, without the walls. Who are we after that? How do we get to be that? And to explore how the ego can distort that truth, how conditioning creates the illusions, and how we can live in the truth of our authentic self every day, because that's where the freedom is. I'm all about freedom uninhibited, so let's take the journey. There's another way where it describes how's the unchanging reality that exists in our everyday experiences and that we tap in. So I've always felt, in looking and doing the work of being and not being, and one of my posts talked about the hiding, and some of us don't even know we're doing it, and we're hiding our true selves from the world because of what people think. And why we give a crap about that has a lot to do with limiting beliefs and validation seeking, when we just need to own who we are. Our people will be our people. So briefly, that's one of the other things that I look at. It also says that it's the unchanging reality that I felt that exists beneath the stories that we tell our own selves about ourselves, the roles that we play, the identities that the ego builds to help us survive. That's real. It's not a belief system or a concept we adopt. It remains when the illusion falls away. So once we overcome some of these things, we can tap into the true essence of the divine self, which goes back to, and even though we come here with a soul with certain, way that we're supposed to be, even the child shows their true selves. And even as parents or being a kid, we try to change that. Oh, no, you got to be this way, you got to be that way. And that alters the natural of how you think somebody's supposed to be and how they're supposed to present in the world, because we give a freak about what other people think. That's part of, I believe, a problem in hiding the true essence of the divine truth we are, that connects with the creator, who created, who brought you into this world to do what it needed to do under your unique essence, your unique soul's path here, um, on this earth. And so when I look at one of the key things as being alchemist that focuses on the ego part, which is not something you can get rid of, it's just something to equalize and use it for our best and highest great and good. So when we become aware, awareness is key, but to do the work, you have to do the work to have the awareness. So when I look at it, the key angle is that the ego hides divine truth and alchemy reveals it. So when you are shifting and releasing the presence of who you think you were supposed to be, how you think you were supposed to walk as a woman or a man, for that matter, is that we know deep down who we are. Not every man is this macho masculine man, for example, or this or have that or taps into that. Every woman's that most what people consider prissy woman. Everybody is attracted who they're attracted to, or others are attracted to a more self-sufficient or some woman who just actually happens to be herself. I use myself as an example. Is my mother just said when I did some work at my home that I used to own, is how did you learn how to do that? Laying on my own floors. I had to help with somebody else, but I did a quick study, quick self do it, quick self that. I actually was able to pick up real quickly. I even painted our home when my father didn't go, because I'm like, I need to get this done because I want to play. Or whatever I was doing at that time as a teen, or even a younger one who was around 12 or something. I can't remember. And painted a whole house, but learned from him, burned down to the wood, did all these different things, which was natural. It's good with my hands, had nothing to do with me trying to be anything other than the divine woman that I was. I mean, my true Taurus, we get bored pretty easily. So I like to do a lot of different things and learn a lot of different things. So my essence is that I was an athlete. I didn't like to sit still. So being out and being active was just a natural part of my God-given essence for me. It had nothing to do with me trying to be anything other else than who I was. And actually, I am a woman, and we are creative forces, divine energy. Everybody seems to have. And so when we get into the ego state that tries to protect us, or we've been indoctrinated about what our parents, our aunts, our grandmothers think we ought to be because they're the protective source in the world that says that we need to be this way and that way, when that is uncomfortable and not naturally true for us, we get into, and it falls into certain things that come up from depressions to these things over years of being other thing than the divine essence, which is a connection to the divine, the creator, source, God, universe, however you identify with your creative force. Ooh.
Was that a full stream of consciousness that came through?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I could
That
tell.
was a lot. So yeah. So when I look at transmuting and changing, and for me, especially since, I mean, this was always recognized, but we stand in what we know in the comfort zone of our illusions. That might be a hard something to say, but I'm saying it because we have to own, some of these shadows or some of these protective measures and the mask that we do just to survive in a culture, again, that says that we should be anything other than what we are. Um, Standing into your feminine power as a man is just your heart thing, is your gift, and how you treat not only yourself but your woman, if that's you, or the man, if that's who you're attracted to. And it doesn't make you any less than who you are. You know who you are when you tap into and get outside the world. Just have to keep it real. So after my mother passing, man, this is personal too. have her cross beside me overnight to recognize that cross and understand it, and then realize in the morning what had transpired. There's a part of me that didn't want to react. There was a part of me that thought I ought to react this certain kind of way now that she was gone. And the essence is that she was beside me. She wasn't alone. She felt that she could do that and felt that I'd be okay. I didn't end up okay because it was a very unique experience that took a little bit of a toll. But in the essence, the person who handled or who was there was the very true essence of who I was to be able to talk about it. But since her passing, and this poem that I wrote prior set the stage on this journey for me to become and to stand and to grow and to slowly be able, and it doesn't have overnight to release it, but long as you're doing the work, you'll come into a state of coming into being into your true self and identifying the divine truth of who you are, which is natural. It's just like gifts, or people want to call gifts, talents, miracles. You know, they are that. My body is one of the things that it is because it was able to transmute pain, and I had to believe it, but I had to do something different in order to make sure that nobody would. I know most people would say, let me die from the pain that I experienced on a 24-hour basis. But the essence of me said, no. It's like, no, that's not your path. That's not your journey. That's not this. The true thing says you are to live because you have a purpose that you have not yet obtained or have not yet done, for instance. And to be here, to step into, because I'm all about the truth and seeking the truth. The truth said is unchanged. Facts can be changed, as we were talking about when I was across town, and having these deep and conversations and forgetting about the word weird is good. Being a nerd is even more awesome, and there's different types of nerds. I'm a nerd. I own it. Other than that, they used to be taboo. But hell, nerds that made this here computer stuff that we talking on, this Zoom stuff we talking on, or speaking on. I'll go a little country here. Looks like my country side is coming out.
Mine does too. It's okay, girl.
Woo! So I'm gonna let my girls here tap in here a little bit. So illusion and conditioning takes us away from our true essence and our connection with the higher divine realm. And with my mother crossing over, it was it was sad, but it was also a gift that she gave that I know now that I didn't know then. Some people kind of knew it, or at her church and these and people, and I'm like, I'm not getting it. It's like, what a blessing. I'm like, it's a blessing that she died or crossed over beside me. And I don't like to use the word die because I know I'm a living soul. So we just leave body. Body was just a vehicle. And I understand more for us to do whatever it is that we came here to do. Because when I talked about the pain in the essence of me, I'm the one that feels the pain. I'm the one that tells my hand to move. You're the one that tells you to do these different things, utilizing the body that we were given. And looking at my mother's body, which reminds me of a movie, is that her whole body went to about, she was 82, went back to a younger version of herself. And I'm surprised I didn't take a picture of that, because I take pictures of a lot of things, but in the midst of that, that's not something you think about at the time. But I have the recollection imprinted in my brain of how her body transformed to a younger version of herself. Her skin, it was just amazing. And going back to the essence, so we go back to a state of our younger selves and being. So we all, if we get out of the world and sit down, sometimes we don't even spend time with ourselves. Sometimes we don't realize that we don't want to tap into what we call, and I think we spoke about shadow selves, or that non-perfectionness that we are, that kind of makes us, that whole thing we are. But to get down to the divine is the connection with creation, with who created you, how you created, how you move. Sometimes you get aha moments. Sometimes you get certain things. Just like I said, people who created this got ideas who were destined to create what it is so we can communicate with one another. That taps into true essence, true nature of who we are, and trying to live that divine truth. Oh, I forgot to do it. I just realized something.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot to do.
I know.
Oh well. Um, I don't know where we at. I'll say we 35. Hold on, y'all.
There's 30 minutes
So
left.
30.
30 minutes left.
Okay, I was right the first time, so it was 30. So I am here to, obviously, I any other time I'd have freaked out, but I realized that being and seeing authentic me, even in the mess ups, is the bless ups.
Mm.
So, and hopefully maybe you get to laugh, because I'm gonna laugh at myself because it's really cool. So, a little comedy never hurt nobody. Just being real, just being real. So this one song by, you'll know who it is. What's her name? I Got to Be Real is one of my favorite songs. And that is the true divine essence. You just got to be real. You just got to be the freak who you are. And tapping into that is the divine truth of who you are, which is the connection of God. Yes, and enjoy the fruits and labor of how to live in it. So living in divine truth in human form is not about an escape into, it's lived through you. Allow that to live through you. It's like, what does it look like in everyday life? Just being the natural who you are, and allowing that to be okay. If you're quirky, you're quirky. I mean, and who says that there's even got to be a name to it? um, the comedians in the family. We have everybody that has a part of us that just are. Some of it's entertaining to some of it's not. Not everybody is for us, and that's okay. So
Mm.
I'm excited about this subject, and probably not follow my notes because it's just like yesterday in our conversations talking about that truth. Is like, what is the divine truth? The true essence before anything outside influences or fears shaped you. Simply the pure, unaltered core of you. It's not a mystical concept. It's the authentic you that's always been there. Why it matters is we have to see beyond. And I was just talking about the limited. These are all part of the shade of shading our authentic selves. Is we have to start to go beyond the doubts, the fears, and the stories that we keep telling ourselves about ourselves is not true. It's about clearing away the fog to see the sun. Sun, moon, she, moon, me, sun. And understanding that can help us live more generally and confidently. And if you want to go deeper, reach out, momcleavenet at gmail.com, at least for right now. And then, and it's like about how do we find it? It's not about searching, it's about going within. Our mentor and teacher talks about that all the time. Going within, every challenge, questioning things about yourself. That's not true. And normally we can feel it. I can look back at my life of projecting. Was I still me? Yeah, to a degree, but was I fully me? I have to say hell to the no, no, no. And it wasn't because I didn't want to be. It was because of standing into society's bullshit about how I walk. I dress, I have the dress. I say I have the every looks of me, and I like it. And some of it's a little weird. I'm like, I wouldn't wear that hairstyle again. Well, I don't know. I wouldn't wear that today. But people have 70s parties, and I have no 70s clothes. I'd have to go buy some, and they still out there on somebody's rack. you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it matters. Understanding, the understanding helps us to be more genuinely and be more confident. And how we find it is not about, like I said, it's about every chance, every moment of discomfort is an opportunity to uncover the truth. You know, so that's it for now. Until the end, we'll give you something to think about, to share with us, and to go through that. So, yes, yes, my dear Oracle perspective, chime in here, baby.
Okay. So the way that I looked at divine truths is I look at there are certain truths that remind us of the divine or our divinity, right? And also that the divine exists in all aspects of the world that was created by the divine.
Yeah.
And with that, I took this approach of asking, okay, what are some of those spiritual principles that you can speak of that can help further support the divine truths as I feel exist in the world? So I know I shared three, but I really am going to talk about one because I think this is one that really matters. So mm, I don't think I explained this clearly at the start of this the start of this episode, but we're trying out a new formatting of where she speaks from the mind approach and I speak from the body approach because that's just how we approach. Like if you were to work with her, it would be very mind centered, and me is more body centered and filling into like your body and emotions and things like that. So I'm approaching this from the body. So divine truths when it comes to the body. And what came to me is this. So it comes from the seven main aspects of God written by Emmett Fox. And it is the fourth main aspect that he calls it number 4. And it is God is intelligence.
Mm.
And so me being me, I love the etymology of words. I was like, okay, I'm going to assume for today's conversation purposes, you know what God is. Whatever you define, that source, energy, whatever, cosmic energy, whatever it is. Try not to get caught up in that particular word.
Right.
Let's talk about intelligence. We can definitely feel like we can land on what intelligence means. So I took the definition of intelligence using the Christian Science definition of intelligence. And so Christian Science defines it as the basic eternal quality of divine mind. So intelligence is the basic eternal quality of divine mind. Me being me, it's like, okay, what does that even mean? So I broke down each word. So the assuming you know what the means, we're gonna just like go to basic. Basic meaning the essence or a fundamental truth. So basic. Eternal meaning continued without end or interruption.
Word.
Then we have quality, and quality meaning a high level of value or excellence. And then this is what really kind of stood out to me. Quality also meaning an abstract attribute. And when you think about divine, I feel like divine, God, whatever it is, there's an abstractness to this. So that's the quality that kind of defines the quality of what intelligence is. And then we have divine, and divine is proceeding directly from God. Simple as that. And then mind is recollection and memory. So when we put this all together, God is intelligence. Intelligence means that there is an essence or a fundamental truth that's continued without end or interruption, that has a high level of value, that has an abstract attribute to it, that proceeds or comes directly from God, that has a certain memory or recollection. Okay. So that is how I define that spiritual principle. Going a little bit deeper, then I went into the stream of consciousness, and I will do my best to kind of go through it here and make sense of it. So
Yeah.
buckle up. No, it's not going to be that bad. So then my mind kind of goes to looking at it from the approach of how the work that I'm called to do, I really do lean into like that God is intelligence. That's the essence, and that's that healing essence and quality that I tap into with the work that I do in supporting other people. And so there is this innate infinite power that we're tapping into when we talk about healing and on the body level, that divine healing intelligence is how I define it. So divine healing intelligence, right? So if we add that God is intelligence and there's an infinite power, and that this infinite power is divine healing intelligence, we can go back to how we define divine, right? Proceeding directly of God, divine healing intelligence. There's that infinite power that many of us have this limited understanding of what we truly are. So that is a divine truth. And it also kind of acknowledges that we don't know what it is. We don't understand what it is, because it has, again, that quality that is abstract. It has that abstract attribute, but it doesn't mean that it still doesn't exist, because it does. So with that, we're going down the rabbit hole here. We have a perception. So when we think of our perception and thinking that we are at the mercy of our outer situations, because I'm speaking from a body standpoint. So I'm talking about body healing, any dis-ease that you have in the body. I'm speaking from that standpoint of helping you to understand this divine healing intelligence that I feel is a spiritual principle that we have access to, that is within and of us, essentially. So this perception, our perception and thinking that we are at the mercy of those outer situations, they create how we function and how things thus manifest within the body. And I'm speaking from a physiologically speaking. And so from this perception that we have, that a lot of us hold, it creates this pattern. You know, I love a good pattern. I love pattern recognition here. So this creates a pattern that determines everything happening in the body. So you have this perception and thinking that we are at the mercy of things that are outside of us, right? And so because of that, it creates this pattern that is always determining what's happening in the body too. So essentially, we are influenced by our environment. That's what that means. Taking it a little bit further and how this goes into the body deeper, because we're going deep here. These patterns that thus become our thoughts. And so these patterns become our thoughts. And because the mind follows the body, it triggers chemical processes, neurological messages, and thus electromagnetic signals. So what that means is these patterns impact the body's function and the brain as well, because the mind follows the body. From those patterns, we then we go into programs. So the patterns then become the program, which becomes the belief. So if we have beliefs that we are powerless or helpless, that becomes the programming. And that influences us from making choices that could bring us great joy and prosperity, versus, depending on the programming, the patterns, and the belief that we have, right? It can be limited. It can limit our choices. We can feel like our choices are limited. So from these beliefs, they not only affect us physically. We've already identified these beliefs affect us physically. They also change our energy because these beliefs impact our feelings. This is where I come into play when people show up. So emotions, feelings equate emotions. They're tied together. They hold hands together. When you look at emotions, it literally breaks down to energy in motion. And so this impacts your frequency and your vibration. So this energy is constantly moving. Energy is constantly moving. It's changing and shifting because it can't be changed, but it can shift. So it morphs and moves and it's responding to us constantly. So it's responding because of this energy. It is always responding to our thoughts and our feelings and our ideas about it. That's the perception that we hold. So when we remember going back to the divine truth, right? And also our capacity to change things here, right? Because we can change our perspective. So if we remember we are this pure energy, this divine healing intelligence, we don't see everything as a threat. Or that we need to fight against the threat or we need to flee away from it because we remember, oh, we are pure energy. I am pure energy. I have this divine healing intelligence that I am made of. And that is what is, as I identify, your inner authority. You have this inner authority. That's that divine healing intelligence. There's a programming that exists in your body that has the capacity to heal. But what happens a lot of times is the program, let's say the computer, which is your body, your brain, it gets a virus. And the virus is the outer world that has influenced your perception, that has thus caused you to have a lack of clarity in remembering this pure energy of this divine healing intelligence that you are made of. So it's about understanding that your frequency and your consciousness here are the key to whole body health. And so our belief in this divine healing intelligence, this remembrance of its presence, it will determine the state in which the body resides. So my point in bringing forth this spiritual principle that God is intelligence is to remind people that you have this. You have it. That's why when we say like you're not broken, there's nothing wrong with you. What is happening is that there's a virus that has come in and is attacking that programming that I talked about from a pattern that was created, that created the belief, and from the belief, thus the program is created. So how do you get back to whole health is remembering that you have this code and just hitting the reset button, essentially. So one thing I did want to say, and I'll bring you in and I'll stop rambling, is trying to see if I mark the page here. In the 7 main aspects of God, he talks about the intelligent aspect of God. We're going to call divine healing intelligence is very important in its relation to the health of the body. So this is on page 30 of the 7 main aspects of God. I'm reading from the book. So the intelligence aspect of divine healing intelligence is very important in its relation to the health of the body. It would not be an intelligent proceeding to make a body that can be easily hurt or damaged, or one which would grow old after only 70 or 80 years use. Nor would it be intelligent to give to man faculties like sight or hearing, which could begin to fail long before he had finished with them. Yet the carnal mind, right, the programming, the beliefs that we hold, believes just these things. And so men's and women's bodies experience decay and what is called old age. Their ears, eyes, and teeth fail them, and ultimately death comes. And when the human race realizes clearly enough that God is intelligence, that there's this divine healing intelligence, the old age belief will be overcome. So that is my take on it. And that's how I approach this whole idea of our body has the capacity to heal itself. And our job as the human being that we are is to remember we have this divine healing intelligence and ask ourselves honestly, how am I blocking that frequency to attune to that, because you're conscious of it. So it goes back to how are you getting in your own way of your body doing what it's already designed to do? That's the challenge here. But it starts by understanding that this is even a thing that exists. That's what energy healing leans into. That's what energy healing knows about. It knows about this divine healing intelligence. It knows that God is intelligence. It knows that there's this essence, this fundamental truth that continues without end or interruption, that has this abstract attribute that has a high level of value, that comes from God and the divine, that is the recollection and the memory of who you are and whose you are from. That's all I have to say about that in this term. So, my dear, what are your thoughts on what I said? Any feedback?
It definitely, it goes back to awareness. It goes back to me talking about the pain I was in and not settling in it, even though it endured for a long, long time. And divine intelligence, even though I didn't understand what was brought to me 6 months before I realized what it was, which had a lot to do with food and not settling, even though I was in it, of what was possible. So yes, there is definitely a divine inner healing that goes on at every cell of every human body. That there is. The belief is a belief system. So you talked about age and losing sight. Yes, I do believe people have prematurely people. I do not set I love in emergency situations to have it, but if you stand with society under, there's a woman next door. I have to confirm it again, that is still 115. She's a black woman that's 115 years young.
Wow.
And looking good. And with that said, I have always said and will continue to say that old is a state of mind for which we have created, and aging is a gift, and also youth is an internal. So with me looking at and standing into how society being youthful is tapping into your young kid self, and understanding that we've gotten too serious. I remember there was somewhere I got too serious with myself, and sometimes we are too serious, and we cause a lot of people think suffering is having an accident or having having arm cut arm. No, that is what we're talking about in freeing yourself, because faith, and however you want to look at that, and people like rituals is like a plan. If I go to the gym every day at the same time or similar, is a ritual, is a choice I've chosen for the ultimate health of my body. Faith is the trust that what I'm achieving can actually happen, which has happened, has and is still happening at the cellular level of the body. And the mind controls, they go hand in hand. Because what you tell yourself you believe is true is to look in the mirror and say you're pretty, but do you actually believe that? And handsome is not a male thing. Handsome is that you look good. It's still a word, or you look in the mirror. And so I was talking yesterday about belief. You can say whatever you want to say. You can say I'm a leader, but do you believe you are? And until you believe that, that won't transform. Everything is energy, like our spiritual mentor has said. And so there's some things to call, some things to reflect on, and everything is interconnected. So You have to go within or be still, whichever is be still and see what comes up. It's like creative stuff will come to us if we be still, pull out the world, or even listen to meditative music if you can't sit in the true silence, but sitting and understanding and coming. And like I said, for people who have created some of the fruits that we enjoy in the living of life has come from them tapping into their creative source and divine truth of what's possible in the world for us to be utilizing some of the things we're utilizing. And I like fast cars, even if I'm not driving it, but it's much better when I am. So I enjoy that fruits of creation. So with that being said, I would like to share some things with you to kind of think of, and to share what you got, any questions, things like
Wait, wait,
that. You
wait.
can
I'm
hit
not
me.
ready yet.
I know you're not ready yet. No, I'm just going to share some reflective things on the divine truth as an unchanging reality that transcends through all of us and our beliefs, because beliefs are huge. So I'll leave some reflective stuff here, not ending, but I do want you to share. I want you to engage with us. Um, take some actionable steps. So one of the things I want to ask you, I have five, but I'm only gonna hit you with three, is after speaking with us, what does divine truth mean to you personally? And have you ever had secondly, have you ever had an experience where you felt a deeper sense of truth beyond the everyday beliefs, the illusions around you in the world? So, and invite you to share some of them or moments of clarity that you may get now. And I'm gonna do this one. What steps can you take or will you be taking, or are you going to take to move beyond the conditioning to uncover your true self? Because I think that's important. Um, gives you a little bit to think about your personal growth journey and the actions to take to step into your divine truth and connect with that. And we can continue to go deeper with you, reaching out to us in the future. Go ahead, darling. Go ahead.
Um, I was just going to add to the divine healing intelligence piece about changing your perspective in order to change your reality.
Mm-hmm.
It is also about we really must release everything that you think you are and
That part.
everything you think is true about everything.
Right.
And you must begin to see from this truth instead of from the programming. So
Right.
I will
Yes.
share my integration piece as we kind of close out here. Mine is simply to it's so we talked about the limiting beliefs. It starts
Yep.
with identifying what they may be. Like, what's
Mm-hmm.
one limiting belief that you have around the truth of who you see you as being
That
on
part.
that from that divine standpoint? So remember how, we define divine, you are of and from God. And once you identify that, this is reframing essentially. It helps to kind of reprogram the brain essentially. But before you
Mm-hmm.
do that, you have to identify what the belief is. Once you identify what is the alternative belief to that? And
The
ask
opposite.
yourself,
Yeah.
what if this alternative belief were true? What if it was true? And ask yourself, how would it feel in your body? Because again, the mind follows the body, and describe it and explore it curiously. Just curiously, like, oh, okay. So I identify this belief that I have around I'm an imposter. To give example. The alternative belief is I know about writing, grammar. What does that feel like in your body? So what is the alternative belief to that? What does that feel like? Because it's all about feeling into that alternative belief so you can start to see a new perspective. Because it's changing how you perceive things that the brain will start to like, oh, okay, this is something new to consider. So start there. I know it sounded a lot, but start with identifying the limiting belief. If you struggle in any way, reach out and we can support you in figuring out that part. Or go back and rewatch what I said and just kind of pause and work yourself through this. It's really, 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 it's a very powerful reframing process that I do with myself all the time.
Yeah.
So that's the piece that I have for you all in terms of this conversation around identifying beliefs. You were going to say?
Well, I was going to say to share with them, I don't know that everybody has IG. I might have to maybe move the 11, and there's more that it looks like I may end up speaking about. Was to on the IG on the dim and limiting beliefs that I identified up under perfectionism. Which, okay. And of course, you look at the body, I look at the mind, the body following the mind, but they're interconnected in how they are. So the belief systems is the programming for the reason why I understood how deep and embedded they were in my own self from childhood to work limitations to unfortunately having to mask to survive and be and to give what I needed to do to serve people, because I've always been serving people. So I shared different beliefs, the fear of failure. I briefly speak about fear of success. And one of our guys say that if you have both, you're that, but they are actually somewhat intertwined. But the whole thing of it is fear of being able to establish that and to maintain that. Then you have your validation seeking, then you have your ability to do some other ones, and then there's scarcity. There's some other things that hold us back, as you say, that connected, which is part of divine programming or over doing this experiential live. We have competing, what they call competing commitments. Like me saying I'm beautiful in the mirror, but not believing it is a competing commitment. It's just like when I was in training, I said something and I went blank and there was a disconnect. You already know that we have disconnects from what we say to what we believe. And that's in just Renee, how you meaning to actually go deep within and to identify those systems that run us. Like I have a poem that talk about to overcome the systems that run me instead of me running them, instead of them running me, is where you want to get to, that awareness. But that love that take and how we piggyback off of one another to hopefully touch a massive amount of you out in the world to live the greatest and possible life, going through and sharing, especially this one, and sharing and honoring and discovering your divine truth. Truth of who you are.
Yep. It starts with understanding your belief. And we hope you have a belief and hold a belief in the value of subscribing to this channel, The Alchemist and the Oracle. Thank you for watching. Thank you for those who are returning. Thank you for those that are new. This is your first time. Welcome. And if you haven't already subscribed, be sure you subscribe to the channel so you can become a part of the community. And those of you that are listening on the podcast, be sure to comment, leave a review, let us know your feedback. You can always watch us over after you listen to us. Go over to our YouTube channel and watch us over there too as well. So there's plenty of options to engage. And wherever you are listening or watching, there will be a link It's a bio site link, and you can click on that and you'll have access to Warrioress Ardeshir, where to connect with her, and as well as me, which is Nick with Love Everywhere. I don't know what your handles are. I think they're Warrioress Ardeshir, or click
They
the
are.
link down below. Okay. It'll take
They
you there
are
without having to guess that you spelled it right or what have you.
right. They
So,
are warriors. Are sharing.
okay, there you go. There you go. All right. We hope to see you guys in the next episode. Thanks for watching.
Much love.
Bye.
Peace.